Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Ushanka Show live, unplanned live, just like everything today was unplanned. One of the craziest days that I remember since 16 months ago, when on February 24th, 2022, Putin attacked Ukraine. And as I promised, we're gonna do a quick live, probably 30 minutes or so. Um, I decided to see if I do a little bit more light here, make it a little cozy. There we go. So, anyways, so thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, if you have any opinions, make sure verify that sound is good. So yeah, craziest day. Unfortunately, I had to be at work, so that was quite a distracting. We got the first message. I hate to break it to you, they reached a peace deal. If you believe that Putin will let go what was done to him today and there was a peace deal, you're an extremely naive person. Today was the most embarrassing possible what could happen to Putin. If you remember, I don't want to take my shirt off, is Putin riding horse shirtless. Putin, one of the strongest leaders. Putin this, Putin that. And what did Putin do when Wagner started rolling towards Moscow? Remember what Zelensky did in February of 2022 when Russian troops were rolling towards Kiev? He said, I don't need a ride, I need ammo. What did Putin did today? He didn't say it, but he took a ride. He didn't need ammo. He took a ride. He actually flew away apparently to Moscow, from Moscow to Leningrad, Petersburg, and he was hiding there with the government because they were afraid that Wagner will be in Moscow. So, what this major embarrassment to him personally, and just to show how rotten the whole Russian government right now, the whole system, because Wagner had hardly any resistance. So they've been rolling on the highways. The only resistance was from the Russian Air Force. So there's no peace agreement. Putin had to do something to stop Wagner, to stop Prigozhin from taking over Moscow, because regular Russian troops didn't want to do anything. They stayed aside. Cops disappeared completely. The Russian police was just gone. So it's crazy, but if you think it's over, it's not. This is day one. This is first step, and I believe this is the end of Russian Federation as we know it. What's going to happen next, I can't predict. There's a lot of these weird theories going on, so it may be some people thinking, as far as there was actually a coup planned on the military side to remove Putin, and Prigozhin actually helped Putin to remove the main management army. So that's a famous Shoigu, the plywood general that totally useless, fortunately for Ukraine, and extremely corrupt. So this is crazy. It just shows how rotten, how weak Russia became in these 16 months since they attacked Ukraine. And I want to tell you, it's nothing new. If you look at the history of Russia, it happened before. If you look 1904, 1905, a war against Japan, there was still Tsar Russia. It was exactly the same attitude. How would giant Russia could lose to tiny Japan? There is a caricatures. I kind of make a video about. There used to be caricatures, cartoons showing this giant Russian Cossack looking at tiny yellow monkey, which was a Japanese soldier, and they were saying, we're just gonna flick them, and they'll be the end of the war. And what happened in the end? 1905 Russian Revolution. Nikolai II had to let go his powers. Country was in turmoil. So that was the first bell, right? The first kind of warning sign. So this is the first time. Second time, it's the First World War. I don't think Russia was planning to lose World War One. They had a great plan how much more territory they're going to add, and we all know what the end of it. Nikolai II, his family ended up being killed completely. Romanovs were completely wiped out. Russian Empire collapsed. But they also there were thought there would be easy war. There's always great plans until first punch in the face. So Russia went through that several times. And if you look even further, Crimean War back in 1854, once again, they just thought that Turkey is weak, Ottoman Empire, and they went to Bulgaria and Bessarabia to occupy. And in the end, the evil West joined forces. They occupied Crimea. Russia lost that war, and they lost territories and all that. So we've seen this movie before. So it definitely shows how weak Russia is, how weak Putin is. All that creating of that image of him being so powerful, so strong. This is just, they just, Prigozhin just poked that balloon, it popped, and everyone saw. Um, so yeah, it's really crazy. Today was super crazy, and let's see, Ukrainians were pretty much eating popcorns and watching. So what is the result? Uh, Russians lost one Ka-52 helicopter, attack helicopter, lost Mi-8 helicopter, three radio electronic warfare helicopters got shut down, Mi-8s, one Mi-35 got shut down, and one also electronic warfare IL-18, with Ukraine nothing to do with it. So Russians were shooting down Russians. So this is just incredible for real what's going on. So it will never be just okay. Tomorrow we're friends again. This is not. This is just the beginning. I don't have any predictions, but and there's a couple of okay. We got first donation from Hipiesta. Thank you so much. Is your family okay there? Thank you. Yeah, my family is still fine. I talked to my brother today. I mean, he actually one of those videos that I posted. I'm gonna take them down. It just was kind of in the spur of the moment. That video when a Ukrainian soldier eating popcorn and watching his iPad. He sent me that video. So someone made it. Said whole Ukraine is laughing. So yeah, this is what. So they're doing fine. And actually, there's behind me. If you see, I got this instant coffee, and that's my mom's order. I'm sending a parcel to Ukraine to my mom, and that's her order. She likes some hand lotion. She likes smooth peanut butter, right there, and she likes instant coffee. We drink instant coffee mostly, so that's her order that I'll be sending. The other part it's really important to mention is involvement of Lukashenko, the president of Belarus. The guy I just checked, he's the president of Belarus since 1994. I don't know how many of you were born in 1994 or after that. So Putin is such a weak leader that he asked Lukashenko to talk to Prigozhin and make some kind of deal. So if you see the level of embarrassment that Putin went through today, or his doubles or triples, I don't know how many he has. So this is insane. So this is the leader of tiny country of Belarus goes and talks to Prigozhin, makes some crazy deal that Prigozhin will have a luxury apartment in Minsk, and he gonna move there. And this is the deal. It's like it makes no sense. So I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but I believe that probably Shoigu and Gerasimov will be removed. I guess that was a part of the deal because a lot of the Russian hardcore Z patriots they hated those guys for a long time. But Shoigu is used to be best buddy of Putin for years. There were videos of them hunting together, going mushroom hunting, and all that silly videos when Putin was fishing with him. So they're best friends. They were stealing money together. I mean, I don't know if any of you watched Alexander Navalny videos, but you should see Shoigu's daughter house that she built near Moscow. It's insane, millions of dollars. So yeah, they're best buddies. That's why Shoigu's still a minister of defense. Although he proved himself totally useless, he showed how uh, everything was very much corrupted, stolen, and he still 16 years, 16 months into this war, he still kept his position. It's only this coup, which I believe will turn way worse. Uh, it just made them to be removed. Okay, we got another donation from Alfredo. Thank you so much. Hey, I joined the stream. Just hope you're doing well. Sipping some bourbon and puffing some Zaza. I guess you're sipping some bourbon. I'm just drinking water. I have some wine in the fridge. I definitely can use later because yeah, that was a lot of craziness. But you know, when army like Russian army see what was going on behind their backs, I mean that doesn't do really well for their spirit. So I hope um, that we'll see more tomorrow. There's no way they're just gonna march back to their summer camps. They're gonna put their weapons down after shooting down so many helicopters, Russian helicopters, killing 13 pilots or so. And you think it's just be like, yeah, okay, not a big deal. We just kind of get, a little bit like a bar fight. What's gonna happen next? Who knows? But definitely I believe Putin today had a major damage to his whole persona, to his authoritet. I don't know how to say it in English. So we will see. As I said, it's only the beginning. If you think, yeah, I mean, definitely it'll be awesome to see Wagner troops rolling into Moscow and taking over Moscow, but they're not good guys either. I mean, they're just as bad as Putin. And I don't know how much of you are aware of the whole history, but I made a couple of videos. People were asking me to talk about Ukrainian Nazis, Azov group. Well, Wagner is um, their main guy, Utkin, has a swastika, SS and swastikas on his chest. So they were private. Uh, well, private. It wasn't really private. It was the Russian government paying through Prigozhin. But Prigozhin was always uh, a guy who was bankrolling Wagner. He got a contract from Russian army to feed them, so he was providing services, and of course he just charged more money, 25% more than, and as extra money went to pay for Wagner, and they were doing business in Syria and Africa. And now, when the things didn't go really well in the war with Ukraine, okay, crazy Sammy, thank you for your donation. Appreciate it. Thoughts on Freedom Russia? That's a koala has a donation. The question on Freedom Russia Legion and their incursion in Belgorod Oblast last month. Well, it's definitely they're being helped from Ukraine. It definitely works the distraction. The main purpose was really to kind of create this, Russian whole population, and especially in the border regions, to show how weak Russia is and distract attention because, you know, Putin never planned big war. He thought it'll be Crimea 2.0. They're just going to roll in, say boo, and Ukrainians going to drop their weapons and run like it happened in Crimea. So they never planned long term. And so they stretch thin. Putin is afraid to do full blown mobilization because a lot of people don't want to fight. So there was a good distraction, and it was really affected Russian morale because I'm following a lot. I don't know if you guys use Telegram. I follow a lot of the Russian pro-Russian channels on Telegram to see what they're talking about, and they're not happy. And they using really nasty names about this Russian resistance because they're traitors, they're Vlasovцы, and so on and so on. So it's definitely affected morale big time. Damage wise, didn't do much, but in this type of war, anything that makes other sides, especially this powerful Russia, and they can protect their own people and their own borders, from Russian traders. It was a great moral kind of effect. Military wise, not that much, but everything helps. Steve, thank you so much for your donation. Wagner is a den of hounds of hell, makes Putin dogs look like church boys, but this takes pressure off Ukraine at least to help the offensive. I totally agree. I mean, they thought they had this amazing deal. They went to prisons and they offered criminals, and it's not like, your petty crimes that you stole, from your grandma. This is like hardcore criminals, people like who were in prison for 10 years, 15 years for killing other people or some other serious crimes, or like professional criminals, Zeki, just go from prison and back to prison. They got offered, hey, if you fight for 6 months and you don't get killed, you're free to go. So Wagner Group, from being, they used to be just like a black water in America. It's a former military that couldn't find a good job. They had skills they knew how to kill people, had no problem killing people. And Wagner, hey, we'll pay you money if you go to Syria and fight. So they used to be former professional military that went to now fight for cash. But now a large portion of the Wagner it's literally criminals. It's people that recidivists who very much their lifestyle is to commit crime. If they get caught, go to prison, and they totally comfortable being there. And now they give them weapons, and it technically was saving a lot of money to Putin, because instead of feeding this guy in prison, he sends him to fight, and 90% of them got killed. So this is like a really good deal. You had free fighters and saving money for them not to sit in prison. So what's going to happen to them? Who knows? But definitely, I mean, they committed crime against government, against the Russian state, Russian Federation. So in the eyes of the law, they are criminals. I mean, this is the worst offense you can do technically. I mean, Russia officially is not in the war, Russian Federation, but if you turn your weapons against the own government, this is a traitor. This is, I don't know, 15 years to ultimate punishment, like расстрел, to be shot. So definitely help Ukrainians relieve the pressure. Now, knowing the Wagner is still behind their backs, the Russian troops on the front lines would be kind of nervous. But I said it's not over, because there's no way Putin will let it go. They need to do something to show the strength. So are they gonna quietly start killing Wagners, like they say, hey, go home, and then show up at their homes and start killing them? Now, because today was information that cops all over the Russia were going and visiting former Wagner people to make sure to tell them, like, hey, we're watching over you. Don't you dare to go and join Prigozhin. So it's pretty crazy. It was the craziest day. I mean, after what happened 16 months ago, uh, do you think nukes are in safe hands? As far as we know, they are. I mean, I don't know. Based on how the Russian military and their equipment, I'm not sure. Probably most of those nukes they can't even take off. But I think they're fine so far. The case is still somewhere in Putin's hands, or somewhere there. It's not enough just to capture a nuclear warhead. You got to have a lot of things with it to actually activate it and use it. So I think they're fine. Alfredo, another donation. Thank you so much. I love the videos. I like hearing about USSR from a person who's seen it. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, some people don't like my stories because it doesn't match their impressions or their thought about Soviet Union. So another donation from Crimony. Thank you so much. Great work as always, but we saw how quickly US and NATO can be forced into the conflict. Peace now for all. Well, NATO didn't get much involved. If you look how painful and long it took them to provide good weapons to Ukraine, and I was telling my Ukrainian friends, because I was like, don't count on the United States and the West too much. First of all, because Russian Federation has nukes. Secondly, Ukraine has no huge deposits of oil or gas. Because United States, I mean, let's be fair, they're very sensitive about democracy, protecting democracy, and the governments in the country has a lot of oil. When Kuwait got attacked by Iraq, it was instant reply, right? And as Kuwait is a tiny country, it's just pretty much sand. What would you care, versus Ukraine, size of Texas, 42 million population. But the United States was really quick to protect Kuwait because they had a lot of oil. And another donation from Joe from Illinois. Hello, much love from Illinois. Hello, neighbors. We got a donation and a thank you. Love your show. Hello from Newfoundland. That's pretty cool. I would love to get a postcard from Newfoundland. That'll be great. If you can do that, that'll be fantastic. So yeah, as I said, it's not over. They definitely would like to show because everyone like, oh, thank God we were so close to civil war, but we just figure out because our neighbor came over and said, "What are you going on? Just come to my place, stay in my apartment in Minsk, and we're okay." And suddenly, like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I just go to Belarus to live in an apartment. I was just going to retire there. When he basically like took a big dump on Putin and Prigozhin, we need to understand those guys going way back. They both from Leningrad, from Petersburg. Uh, Prigozhin used to be Putin's cook. He has a restaurant, which Putin like. There's a famous picture of Putin kind of sniffing. Prigozhin open up the whatever dish, soup or something. So they have a long story of working together and stealing money from the Russian Federation and funneling and tunneling them all the ways. So they buddy for so long, but somehow Prigozhin, as I said, there's even a version that Prigozhin tried to protect Putin from the coup, military coup, because this war is just, I think military understands that they need to stop before it's too late. So it's almost like when Hitler, what is it, 1944 or 43, when the German generals tried to kill Hitler and then start negotiations with the allies about stopping this war. And could be another scenario that was planned by Shoigu and other high military to do that to Putin. So in order to stop it, Prigozhin did this coup to distract and then remove Shoigu because apparently Shoigu and the Gerasimov, tomorrow we'll find out. I think they'll be removed officially. There was one of the part of the deal that we will not keep on going towards Moscow. But you also do you understand in Rostov na Donu, Prigozhin took over the whole headquarters of the Russian army that ran in the war against Ukraine. The whole headquarters were was generals. They took over them. I mean, a level of embarrassment, it's insane. So it's people like, oh yeah, we done, yeah, that was a 1 day deal. It's not wham bam, thank you, ma'am. This is a long-term relations. Was uh, so much damage done to the image of Putin, image of a Russian Federation, of Russian government, because they tracked. There's two planes took off from Moscow and they flew to St. Petersburg. So Putin didn't want to be a hero like Zelensky and said, "Don't give me a ride, give me ammo." He ran like a little bitch, and this kind of embarrassment for Putin it's not acceptable. So it's going to be ugly. What's going to happen? I have no idea. People asking about me and popcorn. I hate popcorn. I don't like popcorn. I only like caramel popcorn, but regular popcorn is one of the reasons I don't like to go to American movie theaters because you guys always have a popcorn, and instead of watching a movie, all I can hear is munching around me and the slurping of people drinking pop. So I don't like going to American movie theaters, and I just smell of popcorn and all that. So I'm not a big fan of this stuff. But I like caramel popcorn. In Chicago, there's a famous I forgot the name of whatever the brand Chicago is famous for. They have a good caramel popcorn. That's what I like. Uh, so anyway, so yeah, we will see. But it's kind of interesting that Putin attacked Ukraine on February 24th, And on June 24th, now Putin got attacked by his own people. So who would imagine 16 months ago that there will be Russian tanks on the Russian streets with the Russian helicopters being shot down by Russians? I mean, this war doesn't go by the Putin scenario, but it repeats 1905 Russia story, 1917 Russia story. It's, you know, history tends to repeat itself. It's a different actors, but the same show. There's Aaron. Thank you for your donation question. Why contract a private mercenary like Wagner Group? Why United government contracted Blackwater? There's a lot of things that you cannot do if you're official government organization, but it's easy to do if you're a private company. So there's a lot of crimes can be done, and government has nothing to do with it because it's not us. It's some, for a long time, there was this whole wink, wink. We don't know who owns Wagner. Like Prigozhin for years was like refusing, no, I don't know anything about it. But you knew like they had huge money coming in. They had equipment, so you could tell they were being supplied by Russian army. But officially, they were just kind of on the side. So yeah, it's just convenient for the governments to use private companies because there's a specific laws they cannot break. All right, next another donation from you guys are generous today. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Another donation from Carl. After what the Russian army did by destroying Novakhovka Dam, I wonder how Ukraine is planning to retake Zaporizhia nuclear plant. I don't think they're planning to actually. The hope is the Russians gonna just pull out and leave, just like Ukraine did a while back. Um, I mean, nuclear plants is pretty scary. I mean, usually, I'm not sure about Ukrainian nuclear plants. I mean, usually there should be a passive systems, like a natural recirculation when you have no power. It's a station blackout. It's called. Reactor still can cool itself by, water will be recirculated naturally through the loops. But I don't know how much Ukrainian design, Soviet design works that way. But hopefully, they're supposed to have some equipment based on when the Fukushima nuclear disaster happened. Every nuclear plant, at least in the United States, had to get additional equipment. So if something happens like Fukushima, total loss of power, everything, diesel's flooded, they still have options to hook up equipment and start pumping water, providing power for the pumps. I'm not sure if Ukraine did the same, but there is a way to keep it stable. But of course, if Russian government wants to mess with it, but I don't think they would do that because that's a different level of escalation. That evil West can find excuse and bring their troops and stuff. So I don't think that's the concern. But who am I? Next donation from Hunters. Thank you so much. In the question, either this is Maskirovka or Prigozhin is dead, or maybe I was thinking maybe Putin is dead, and there was a Maskirovka, like camouflage hiding in the vents. But Putin was, I don't know if you watched his speech. He was calling it civil war and betrayal, traitors. He didn't spare words. So he was scared, and then he packed his bags and left in his hiding place. So as I said, there's so much damage done to the Russian government and Putin personally. There's no way just gonna tomorrow be like, not just another day in Russia. So Ukrainian nuclear plants have never had any problems, right? Well, from the time of Ukraine being an independent country, I don't think they had any major events like Chernobyl level, because Chernobyl, you can call it Soviet nuclear plant. It's a Soviet design. And I don't know how much you're aware of the history, but Chernobyl could be avoided because there was another accident in Leningrad in a similar RBMK unit. It was very similar to Chernobyl meltdown, but they managed to somehow, wasn't as bad, was still release of radiation, but they kept it secret. They never shared the information because this is what required, like in a normal society, like all the nuclear plants in the world, they share. Anything happens, they call it operating experience, OE. they required to share with other plants with Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Like, hey, we had this event, our electricians were testing and they pushed the wrong lead, something happened, pump tripped. You need to make sure you don't repeat our mistake. So in Leningrad in 1978, I believe, they had a partial reactor meltdown, just like Chernobyl, same design, same everything. But they managed to say it was a release, but they kept secret. They never told guys in Chernobyl what they happened. So it was just a question of time where that slices of Swiss cheese, when the holes are gonna line up just right, and you have another problem. So I would blame more Soviet Union. Ukraine inherited those plans. It's all Soviet design, faulty design, and there was I made videos about it. They had accidents happen prior. They were replacing sand in the children's sandboxes way before Chernobyl in 1986. They had regular releases from partial rods meltdown and stuff like that. That was pretty bad. And I talked about it before. I don't know if you understand the difference. Uh, every American nuclear plant, there's a three ways they protect the nuclear fuel from being released to the public, right? It's the cladding, that's where the nuclear fuel is inside. Then you have cooling, which is runs pumps and they cool the fuel, and that's how the electricity being made. Water turns to steam, steam turns the turbine steam twists the generator, generator makes electricity. The third one is containment. Well, you have to have cladding, it's just the way it is, it's designed. You have to have cooling because that's how you make power. You don't have to have containment. Like for producing power, you don't have to have containment. It's the passive safety feature, which is extremely expensive, and that's what Soviets, I apologize, Soviet government probably, when they talk to scientists and they're like, do we have to have this? It's very expensive. Like, well, we don't have to have it, comrades, for making power. Then we don't need it. Make it cheaper. So the Soviet nuclear reactors, RBMK, they don't really have a containment. It's containment design on specific, worst case scenario, design based accident, they call it DBA, and it's like boom, and it goes, and the containment keeps it all in. Like it happened in 3 Mile Island when it was a partial reactor meltdown, nothing was released as far as we know because they had a containment. Soviets didn't have a containment, and with that whole accident, everything went out into the atmosphere. So that's the biggest difference. So, I mean, technically, it was an explosion. It's just steam, and just went kaboom. There's a statement that says, I'm against the war. Everyone is against the war. Unfortunately, the only way you can stop this war is by making Russian Federation lose and Putin losing power, because it's the only way to stop it. I mean, they let Putin have Crimea. They give up Crimea without fight, just like back in 1939, France and Britain agreed with Hitler to give them Sudeten region in Czechoslovakia. Here you go. Please don't start the war, and we know how that ended. So same with Crimea. Putin got Crimea for nothing, and then like, oh, you're so nice. Might as well take Eastern Ukraine. Oh, might as well take the whole Ukraine. It's the same movie over and over again, unfortunately. Another donation from Black Cat. Thank you so much. And I'm thinking Lukashenko was thinking that he would collapse if shooting in Russia started because Putin won't be able to spare troops to help him. Well, I don't think anybody is planning to attack Belarus, but this is what happened to Lukashenko. He played a good game for years. I mean, he was like a, girl that's promising a guy a piece of ass, I'm sorry to say, just give me some money, give me some cheap oil, give me some cheap gas, and one day we'll be together, you can have me. And he's had this game for so long, and borrowing money from Putin, never paying back, just because I'm loyal and I'm waiting for you. I'm just waiting for the right moment, and then we'll join together. Just wait for Ukraine. When Ukraine will be ready, then it'll be a beautiful threesome. Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, and Russia will take us. And he was playing this game, and then you see what happened in the end. I don't think Lukashenko wanted Russian troops in Belarus on the border, but that was an important part of their attack is to attack through Chernobyl area right straight for Kiev. So he played his game till the Putin put him like had no choice. You have to, and now they both like tied up together, and they will go down together. I have no doubt if it will go the way it's going when the Russian Federation and Putin will be over, Belarus will follow because they're in the same boat, and that boat is sinking. So yeah, it's, as I said, it's not over. I don't know what kind of things will be happening, but they will start. Wagner's still armed. They are still armed and dangerous. They consider that they're done with their military mission because they had huge losses when they spent like 6 months at storming Bakhmut. So they need to recoup, and so but they're still armed. I don't know. It's not easy to take care of them right now, but they already have they all marked by the Russian government. The Putin won't let it just be the way it is. Maybe airplane will crash and Prigozhin will die, but Prigozhin is not a dumb guy. I mean, there's the reason why he's so powerful and he's so outspoken. I mean, he was criticizing top Russian military brass for a long time, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is pretty crazy what he's doing," and Putin doesn't do anything. There's other people. If you just go outside in Moscow on the street and you have a sign "No war, нет войне," you go to prison to like 3 years. It's quick. And there's the guy just basically posting crazy stuff about Russian military command, and nothing happens to him. So it's pretty crazy. So the question: how fast is the ship sinking? Well, usually it's like anything else. It's you apply pressure, and it's never it builds up, and then it snaps. So it's happened to Russia. I don't know how many years Russia back in World War One. How many did it take them to collapse? Right. Of course, definitely. Putin way. Say word stricter, but he took care of opposition hardcore. I mean, it's pretty much way to the level. It's not as bad as during the Stalin time in 1937-38, but they used to arrest people and call them enemy of the people, враг народа. Now they call you иностранный агент, like foreign agent. And if you're a foreign agent, you're not allowed to come out and say anything in public. If you say anything in public, you are, you when they call you foreign agent, is keep the mouth shut. So it's pretty wild. So I honestly don't know, but I said it's just the beginning. What's going to happen next? We still have war. Ukraine still wants to return its territory. So Ukraine is doing whatever they're doing. I have no idea about their plans. I just, trying to help as much as I can. I send donation to the soldiers, trying to support them. But I think if you look at the big picture, Russian Federation is the last old-fashioned land empire, right? Because we used to have French Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, Russian Empire. The only one that's kind of kept itself, it collapsed, but then Soviets restored it again, was a Soviet Empire, once again, capital Moscow, and they just changed the, religion from one to the socialism, but once again, Stalin was occupying former territories of the Russia. So technically, Russian Federation is the last land empire of Europe. And empires, I don't know, I'm not a historian, but they're like a multi-level business. They need to constantly grow and expand and occupy other territories. Otherwise, they'll start collapsing on itself and disappear. So that's what Putin is trying to do. And of course, he wanted to leave, important mark in history as the person who restored the glorious Soviet Union in a new shape. So, anyways, let's see. We got a lot of comments and arguments going on here. Let me see if anything going on here. Well, and in China, once again, okay, there's another thing I need to mention generally, since I'm living in the United States right now. A lot of times, you know, especially right now, since Biden is helping a lot Ukraine and their government, there's a lot of talk on the right that we send so much money to Ukraine, we're wasting money. No one sends money to Ukraine. Money stays in the United States. It's the factories working overtime, making ammo, making guns, making tanks, whatever they make. They ship old stuff like Humvees that they have no use anymore. American military doesn't want anymore. All that equipment is being purchased. Money stay in United States, and items go to Ukraine. So that's like it's actually boosting. I hate this, spending money this way, but it's good for American economy, and all those like Max Pro, those giant the trucks, they were designed for like war in Iraq. They were destroying them because they built them so much here. Now they just ship them to Ukraine, and so it's actually for United States, it's huge benefit. And then what American military is learning, amount of American blood being spilled right now in this war is minimal or none, but the amount of knowledge and improvement in technology what America right now, like it's can't imagine the better testing grounds as the real war. When they send patriots and patriots fail on something, they learn right away, okay, so Russians have this Kinjal hypersonic missile. Okay, we didn't intercept it first time, let's do it differently, let's set up this. So they're learning right now. This is like priceless knowledge without American blood being spilled. So for America, this is huge. At the same time, China is watching too, right? China see, okay, uh, you know if United States would let Ukraine go, just let Russia occupy Ukraine, I have no doubt that China will be right now attempting to occupy Taiwan, because they see that, okay, they just won't talk and no business, but it's actually went different way. And of course, I know you see the Ukrainians, they're not interested, to say polite, to be part of Russian Federation, to be under Putin's rule, to be part of the Russian world, Ruski Mir, because compare what happened in Afghanistan, how much money was spent on the military equipment and training in Afghanistan, and how long Afghan army was holding on. They had a really good equipment, right? They had good training, had no people who wanted to fight. And now you look at Ukraine, for 16 months, they holding off this, used to be second army in the world, or everyone thought they are second army in the world. Then it turned out to be their second army in Ukraine, and now Russian army is the second army in Russia, because Wagner Group is doing better job um, than Russian army. So it's for the American, for United military, and for securing the United States. This is a huge benefit. I mean, what they learn, how they improve their technology, communications, tactics. I mean, this is insane. So all this talk with sending money to Ukraine, no one sends bags of money to Ukraine. They send equipment and they learn from it. So this is like United States. And I hate saying this because I'm generally anti-war person, but when somebody does that to my former home country, that's just you know in this case America's on the right side. And also many wars America started for, just like said, Kuwait, that was protecting oil supplies, there was nothing to do with democracy. Libya, kind of similar situation, right? They had the no, Gaddafi. Yeah, Muammar Gaddafi, right? The name of the guy. He was a dictator of Libya for like what, 30 years, and America had no problem with him. Suddenly there was a problem, so there's something changed. We got a donation from Charles. Putin and Xi are close. Do you think CCP will try to save Putin? Absolutely not. If you know the history of China and Russia, it's really ugly history, and it's on the part like China. And out of all countries, China would be hating Russia the most because when China was on their knees during the Opium War, Russia took advantage and punched China, kicked them in the face, and took giant territory. They just pretty much like, uh, it's considered like in the Soviet history books and Russian book considers like the best diplomatic win ever for Russia. They just took giant territory from this country on the knees. Um, it's including Vladivostok. So what China they remember everything. So they they're not buddies with Putin. They just they're waiting their time. For China, they would like to take their territories back eventually if they could, and they win-win. If Russia loses and collapses and falls apart, China is fine. If Russia would win, and then China is fine because they can go after Taiwan. So they're doing pretty good. Let's see what this guy is. We can. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, we'll do 1 hour, then I'll be wrapping up. So, by the way, don't forget to put like if you like this long and boring live. We got 300 viewers and 173. So, another donation from Carla. Thank you so much. Is the Wagner Group rebellion going to end up like what happened after 1991 August coup? How would Russia's allies react to the recent event? Well, if you think what happened after the August coup, Gorbachev had till December, and there was no more Soviet Union. So, although technically coup failed, but he said there was a different type of coup, right? This is guys like actually war-hardened criminals that follow their leader. I mean, they don't care. They already killed someone and they end up in prison, so they don't care. But it's a huge, like a torpedo in the side of the Russian Federation ship, and it's when you realize that part of your military, that actually the best part of your military is actually turned around and starts civil war pretty much, and a coup. This is like the whole system, shows how it's weak, and I don't think there's any turning back. It's pretty much shows that Moscow doesn't control things. It's the almost like a local warlords like Prigozhin. Suddenly he decided, well, I'm just gonna show what I can do. And look what happened. I mean, if they will be keep on rolling, they'll be in Moscow tomorrow. So I don't know. As I said, right now, the Moscow it's about what 8 hours ahead of us. So they morning will be here about what 11 tonight, midnight. There'll be some maybe news coming up because you know not much you can do in the middle of the night. But as I said, well, I believe you'll be surprised or not surprised, but this is just the beginning. It's not what he did damage wise Prigozhin to image of Putin, especially as I'm thinking, because Putin, he is, he never forgives. He always would want to punish and to like show other people, show the lesson, right? Like like they tried to poison people in Britain who left, betrayed Soviet Union, betrayed KGB years ago, like Skripal, and he now tried to poison him, several years ago. So the guy has a really long memory, and he will always try to punish, especially traitors, because Prigozhin, in his eyes, is a traitor. And I said the amount of damage to prestige to Putin himself. I mean, spend years showing how cool he is, and now they just show like he's nobody. And try to be a president nobody when your country is fighting the losing war, when people is getting tired. So yeah, it's crazy. So you have now a group of Russians who really want start beginning hating Putin because he's not a strong leader, and there's a bunch of people who hate Putin because he started the war. So it's nuts. But it definitely was insane day today. I honestly, um, that was extremely distracting, just because suddenly something new coming up. But I'm interested to see official announcement that Shoigu was removed, and of course the question, who is will replace him, and I don't know. It's pretty wild, but it said it's don't think it's over. There's it's not like bad date and you just split up and they went apart. They still together on the same boat, and they just showed Prigozhin just showed that he's not your friend, and Putin knows it now. So, and yeah, it's yeah, you go to Belarus and get a luxury apartment. I don't think so. We'll be watching, and definitely it's a big embarrassment, and it's a great benefit to Ukraine. I said it's when two hyenas start fighting between each other. Uh, so that means that Ukraine can take a breather and they can regroup, maybe come up, take advantage of what's going on. But just the damage to the Air Force itself, Ukrainians couldn't do really well right now shooting down Russian Air Force, helicopters or planes because they know better, so they stay away. But here, it just still shows that it's pretty easy to shoot them down. You just need to be closer. So, uh, fingers crossed, and the Trident. Look at my Chibura. Even my Cheburashka supports Ukraine. He's a Soviet symbol. So we'll see what gonna happen tomorrow. And the set is just if you like popcorn, buy popcorn because oh, it's the beginning of the end for Russian Federation. And I said, as much as I hate to say it, the only way it the only way Europe and especially Eastern Europe will be safe is when Russian Federation will break up and the parts of Federation become independent countries. Because it is just until Russia's empire Moscow controls, they just can't help it. It's just I don't know what's wrong with them, honestly. Like they don't care about use an outhouse in the middle of the winter as long as there's a newspaper in that outhouse that tells them that they live in the greatest country in the world. They'll be okay with that. It's really sad. I honestly I'm not sure if it's like a propaganda or what. I had that crap myself before. I grew up in Soviet Union. I mean, I was proud. I was going to my village of my grandparents, and they are outhoused, and it was just like normal. Yeah, but look, we have a best space station in space, but my grandparents never had running water and had to borrow a horse from the collective farm just to, you know, work and sprint their garden. So a lot of it is just that they put in your head so well that you don't realize that stuff. It took me forever for that stuff to dissipate, and I look like, my goodness, this is crazy. But they still under that impression, that propaganda. It's like you see how they discuss between each other. Like, do you understand? It doesn't matter how big is your country. I mean, it helps, but if you are 2% of the world GDP, and countries that help in Ukraine is like 60% of the world GDP, you don't have a chance to win, in this type of war. It's just you don't. I mean, no matter how good Germans were fighting in World War II, once America kind of stepped in with their industrial might and power, it was just a question of time. They were just erasing city after city in Germany. I mean, I don't support that type of warfare, but it's a basic math and economy. It's just doesn't work. But for some reason they think it's because Russia is so large and so big. Like, look at your population. Population of Russia is a little bit less than population of Bangladesh. If you look at size of Bangladesh, you know, and this biggest country in the world has same amount of people, like, yeah, you're big, sure, whatever. But like, I'm asking Russians, I never could find an answer. Like, okay, you're already the largest country in the world. The whole Siberia is empty. Why are you trying to get more territories? Go to Siberia. There's a lot of work. You can spend all your life building roads and making your life better. Leave other people alone. Like, why you need more and more? Like, it's insane. They're like, oh yeah, in Ukraine, and then we need to take Moldova back, and then we'll go off the Baltics. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, seriously, like you don't have enough space, you know, already. Like, but they just can't help it. It's just really something seriously wrong. Like some chromosome is missing. Uh, it's a good question about land is arable. Well, Russian Federation was the number one exporter of grain, so they have plenty of land to feed the other countries. Once they quit doing kolkhoz business and 5-year plan, suddenly Russia had plenty of grain to not to supply themselves, even to sell to the other countries. And Ukraine is number 5. So yeah, most of their territories is not, but it's more than enough to feed themselves, even to sell. So it's not about that. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, if you let the Russians, they'll take Alaska back. This is crazy. They still, like, I read the comments. It says it's there, like, from the birth. It's the pain deep inside that we lost Alaska. I was like, you guys are nuts. Like, really, you still feel bad that you end up selling Alaska? It's just like not enough territory. It's like, anyway. So it's. Yeah, there's Gabriel posting about historically Russia being invaded. Historically, pretty much every country was invaded, and whoever has an early history, I don't know any country in Europe that wasn't invaded at one point or another. Look at the history of Poland. What happened to Poland over the years? So based on that theory, Poland should be like occupying every single corner. Like Poland was under Russia for 100 years, and after that, the Poland got split between Germany and Soviet Union after that. So like they were like steamrolled back and forth. Like, so Poland is trying to occupy uh, part of Russia. There is just something mentally there. So, anyways, well, thank you so much for joining. We just talked about an hour. I appreciate everyone joining in. So yeah, they sold Alaska, but they would like to take it back. They didn't think they got a good deal. So yeah, it's a crazy day, and we went through it. I'm glad Ukrainians took a break. It definitely will help Ukraine, and I hope this whole thing will be going on because there's more trouble in Russian Federation. Is better for Ukraine, but better for Ukrainian people, and hopefully it will finally, this whole scale will tip in Ukrainian side, and we will finish this war and kick the Russians out of the Ukraine. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Once again, I appreciate it. I'm working on a couple of videos. I'm home for a couple of days. So I have some projects I'm working on right now. We'll be talking about lawnmowers, kind of a little bit topic to get off this whole war mongering thing. So, anyways, glory to Ukraine, slava Ukraini. Thank you so much. Goodbye.